Dry shade is one of the hardest conditions to plant in, but I've got 5 plants that thrive in these conditions to give you year-round interest. Join me as I plant the bed under these trees and find out what I'm going to plant to turn this bare bed into something beautiful. This border is one of the trickiest in my garden due to this beautiful Acer, which in winter is bare, but in summer it has a really dense leaf canopy which stops pretty much any light getting to the back of the border. And along with this Salix Nishiki, the shallow-rooted trees suck all the moisture out of the soil. So in summer it's very dry, but in winter the soil does get quite wet. Now this is the border which I look out of my back window at when I'm standing in the kitchen. So I really want it to look good for as much of the year as possible. In winter, the Salix here has beautiful colour. It has these vibrant orange and red stems. And this Acer, although you can't see it now, actually has this wonderful structural form. So I'm pretty happy with this border in winter. It's the other seasons of the year that I need to work on. And when I'm planting this, I'm thinking that spring is going to be my main season. When you have a small garden or a small border like I have here, you know, it can't explode with colour in every season of the year. And I'm going to focus on spring because that's when the front of the border and even the back of the border still gets some sunlight. And then I'm going to also include some plants which give a bit more colour in summer and in autumn, and then some evergreen foliage to keep it going throughout the rest of the year. Evergreen ferns do really well in dry shade, so I'm going to plant 2 varieties at the back of the border to give year-round interest and a bit of height. First up, I've got Polystichum nilobatum. This is also known as the Asian sabre fern or Japanese sabre fern. It has these beautiful long green fronds, and this is a slightly larger growing fern. This will get up to about maybe 70 centimetres in time. So this is going right at the back of my border. Then in front of it, I'm going to plant Polypodium vulgare. This is a lower growing fern. It's really good at ground cover, and it has a different texture to the Polystichum. And it also has, as well as these green fronds, it also has some colourful spores on the underneath, colourful red little spores, which just add a bit of extra little interest. So these ferns will give you some year-round interest and structure to the border. I then have 3 perennials to give interest at different times of year. First up, in spring, when I want my explosion of colour, I've got some Pulmonaria trevifountain. This has beautiful, delicate blue flowers, and this particular variety can flower from as early as February through to May. And even once the flowers have died off, it's got this really interesting foliage with a sort of light-coloured splatters, almost like a paint effect on the green leaves. And to get that real colour in spring, I'm also going to be planting some spring bulbs, late winter and spring bulbs such as snowdrops and anemone blanda. I'm not doing that now because it's spring now, but when the bulbs are available in late summer or early autumn, I'll be adding those into this border. Then for summer, I've got hardy geranium. Hardy geraniums are really good for dry shade. In fact, they're pretty good for any condition. They're one of those plants that thrives anywhere. And the variety I've gone for is Boom Chocolata. It has these wonderful chocolate coloured leaves. So it varies in texture and in colour with the Pulmonaria and the other plants that I'm putting in this border. And geraniums flower all the way through the summer, from May through to August or even September. And I'm going to plant this a bit nearer the front of the border so it can catch that bit of sun that the border gets in summer before the sun moves around and the tree canopy totally shades it. I also have a hosta, which I've moved from further up the border, which will give some really good interest in summer with the flowers and the foliage. There are 2 other similar hostas further down the border, so that will add a nice bit of repetition in. Then for autumn colour, I've got Liriope muscari moneymaker. Now, this doesn't look like much now, but come end of August, beginning of September, it shoots up these beautiful spikes of purple buds, which turn into these wonderful lavender flowers. It's a bit like a lavender for a shady border. And this is a really hardy plant. Again, it does really well in shade, and hopefully it will cope with the dry shade in this border. You may be wondering why I've got these small 9-11 centimetre pots rather than choosing bigger versions, which would give a kind of instant impact. And that's because when you're underplanting shallow rooted trees like acers, you want to be careful not to be digging big holes and disturbing the roots too much. So these plants may look a little small now, but they will establish quickly and they will grow to fill the space. And I'd much rather put in these small plants than damaging those roots of my beautiful Acer. When you're planting small plants, you do still need to spread them out to allow for their eventual height and spread. You do need a bit of patience when underplanting in this way because it might look a little bit bare to begin with, but I promise you your patience will be rewarded in a year or two once these plants have grown and matured and filled the space. These plants will grow well in dry conditions once established, but you do need to water them in well and keep watering throughout the first and maybe even the second summer just to help them develop strong root systems. Once established, they won't need that much attention. You can find a full list of the plants I've used in this dry shade border in the caption. And if you've got any questions about planting in dry shade, pop them in the comments below.